Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts with breaking news.
We begin with breaking news this afternoon. The court documents in last week's double homicide in Boone County have just been released. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jordan Berger. Thanks for joining us today. KOMU 8's Taylor Freeman has the details of those court documents that were unsealed this afternoon. Taylor?
JT McClain is still not in custody. Investigators say the suspect strangled his longtime girlfriend and drowned her daughter. In the newsroom, Taylor Freeman, KOMU 8 News.
Thanks, Taylor. Happening right now, U.S. officials say the last of U.S. troops have left Afghanistan, effectively ending America's longest war. It happened hours ahead of President Biden's deadline for finishing up the final airlift out of Kabul's airport. In the last few hours, a steady stream of aircraft took off and landed at that airport. Thousands of troops spent about 2 weeks in the country to quickly evacuate tens of thousands of American citizens and Afghan nationals. Today, the Pentagon said the mission is complete. Planes carrying the last of the troops and American diplomats left in the last 2 hours, and all of the planes are out of the area.
The last C-17 lifted off from Hamid Karzai International Airport on August 30th this afternoon at 3:29 p.m. East Coast time, and the last manned aircraft is now clearing the airspace above Afghanistan.
With the American diplomats and U.S. troops now out of Afghanistan, the State Department says it is ending diplomatic ties with the country, or suspending them rather. In a statement, the department said, quote, "That doesn't mean we are suspending any commitments to American citizens in Afghanistan, at-risk Afghans, or to the Afghan people." The Pentagon says the military mission is finished, but there are still people in Afghanistan who want to leave the country.
While the military evacuation is complete, the diplomatic mission to ensure additional U.S. citizens and eligible Afghans who want to leave continues.
With the last of the American troops leaving the country, the Taliban has declared, quote, full independence of Afghanistan. We'll continue to follow the latest from Afghanistan and bring you the latest both on air and online. Turning now to Hurricane Ida. People are starting to clean up after it made landfall yesterday as a Category 4 hurricane, knocking out power for more than 1 million residents in the state of Louisiana. Today we talked to a Columbia woman who is heading there to help with the recovery efforts. But first, a look at some of the damages caused by the storm and the ongoing rescue efforts there. Crews are rescuing people who weathered the storm throughout Louisiana today. Trucks and boats patrolled city streets looking for stranded residents. Rising water forced some to move up to their attics. Others said water levels inside their homes came above waist level. But unlike previous hurricanes, officials believe most people evacuated high-risk areas.
This isn't a Hurricane Katrina where we're trying to evacuate the city of New Orleans. We're talking about, a maximum maybe 400 residents that stayed down, but I don't even think that number was that high at the end of the day.
While most got out, the damage from the storm was significant. Gas stations collapsed as the wind and rain ripped across the Gulf Coast. As the storm made landfall, the storm surge smashed into buildings. The French Quarter suffered wind damage and roofs from buildings were blown clean off. Officials anticipated this kind of destruction, but they say the levee system slowed some of the damage.
Hurricane Ida came on shore with everything that was advertised.
Yep.
The surge, the rain, the wind. The good news first is all of our levee systems, particularly our federal levee systems and the hurricane risk reduction systems, performed magnificently.
We've got 1 million people in Louisiana without power. And for a time, Ida caused the Mississippi River to literally change its direction.
Now, this map shows the Louisiana power grid. All areas highlighted in red are areas that currently don't have power. That covers much of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. According to Entergy Louisiana, there are still more than 800,000 people without power. Now, we have continuing team coverage of Hurricane Ida. Meteorologist Matt Beckwith is in the Weather Center to take a look at the latest path of the storm. But first, KOMU 8's Elise Schoenig spoke with Missouri Task Force 1 and other responders from mid-Missouri that are already in Louisiana today. Elise, what did you find out about how they prepare for disasters like this?
Well, Jordan, those responders told me Hurricane Ida is an all-hands-on-deck situation. I'll be back with more on her at 6. In the studio, Elise Schoenig, KOMU 8 News.
Elise, thank you. Turning now to meteorologist Matt Beckwith. Matt, where is Ida now and where's it headed?
Yes, still moving through parts of Mississippi right now. That's where it is a tropical depression. It's going to be moving across the East Coast over the next several days.
The man who abducted and killed the University of Iowa student is sentenced today. An update from Iowa. Plus, an update on the man charged with the deadly spa shootings in Georgia that the district attorney has in the works. But first, you're taking a live look over the Missouri River near Rocheport. The time is 5:08. You're watching KOMU 8 News at 5, coverage you can count on. Welcome back, everybody. A 27-year-old man has been sentenced to life in prison for the 2018 abduction of Iowa student Molly Tibbetts. Christian Rivera has been sentenced to life in prison without parole for taking her life. She was kidnapped during a jog close to her home in eastern Iowa, where she was followed, stabbed repeatedly, and then ultimately found buried in a nearby cornfield, buried by Rivera. Both Rivera and his lawyers declined to make a statement after the sentencing. The Georgia District Attorney says she will seek the death penalty against the man charged with killing 8 people in shootings at 2 Asian-owned spas. The DA is also seeking sentence enhancements based on the race and gender of the victims. In July, Aaron Long admitted to killing 4 people at a spa in Cherokee County. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole for those murders. Long's next court appearance is an arraignment on September 24th. The U.S. Education Department is investigating whether banning masks in schools is a potential civil rights violation in 5 different states. Statewide policy banning mask mandates already exists in Iowa, Oklahoma, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Utah. The Education Department says policies that ban school mask mandates are discriminatory against students with disabilities and keeping them from returning to in-person learning. After the break, an update on the North Carolina school shooting story that we've been following this afternoon. Welcome back, everybody. Officers arrested a 15-year-old after a North Carolina school shooting earlier today. Chance Diablo is charged with attempted first-degree murder after shooting and injuring one of his classmates. The victim is in the hospital but is expected to survive. Other students were evacuated to a nearby middle school. Haiti is facing a hunger crisis in the wake of a 7.2 magnitude earthquake earlier this month. The World Food Program says the number of people in urgent need of food is up by 1/3 since the August 14th quake. Before then, the United Nations said 42% of the population faced acute food insecurity, one of the highest in the world. The quake left the country's infrastructure decimated, making the situation much worse.
We are starting with First Alert Radar right now because we have pop-up showers and storms.
Well, fires continue to rage across California. The latest on the Caldor fire is up next. Welcome back, everyone. The Caldor fire continues to rage in California. More evacuation orders have been issued after crews said the fire experienced a rapid spread. The flames you see here are from El Dorado County. The fire started on August 14th, and since then it has burned more than 160,000 acres. Crews only have the fire about 13% contained. Looking across the Atlantic now, Mount Etna in Sicily is spewing lava and ash into the air. Etna is the largest of Italy's 3 active volcanoes. According to the Catania Institute for Geophysics and Volcanology, the eruption caused ash and volcanic rock to fall on some villages on the slopes of the volcano. Airports in the area, however, are operating normally. Starting today, the speed limit in nearly all of Paris will be under 19 miles per hour. Yeah, you heard that right, 19 miles per hour. Part of the effort is to stop accidents and help make the city more pedestrian-friendly. Polls suggest that most residents are in support of the change in the hopes that it makes the streets a bit safer and quieter. We'll have one last check of your forecast when we come back right after this.